go to the trading floor in Chicago and find out what the talk of the trade is today. We have Scott Gecas standing by. Scott is with Walsh Trading Incorporated, and he joins us right now. So, Scott, as you look at the corn and soybean action today, some of that proverbial backing and filling traders like to talk about there, but is this just kind of some position squaring that's taking place ahead of the big reports coming up on Friday?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a little bit of a profit taking, a little bit of a positioning going into Friday's report. Just to give you an idea how big this report is, it's being downplayed saying that we're not going to get the exact data. We have to wait until the July report to come out. But with the option flow that's going right now, the bean volatility right now is completely elevated. It's pricing in about a 43% move within the next 30 days. In corn, it's about 37. So that just gives you an idea of, no one really knows what's going on. Everybody's playing the wait and see mode in the wait and see mode, see what this data is really going to be coming out. So you're seeing two-sided option flow, but the volatility is really elevated. For the expected move in 30 days to be at these high numbers, I mean, that's definitely something to take notice on.
Kind of reminds me of the old days back in the 90s when traders would head home on the before the 4th of July holiday, and there was expected to be something developing in the weather, and they would say they expected a big move the day after the 4th of July. When traders came back, they just didn't know which direction, and it kind of has that feel to it.
Right. Well, this year's going to be a little different because the 4th of July falls on a Thursday, and usually when that happens, it's very light trading, and not a lot of people show up on that Friday. They take that extended time off, so we have to wait and see.
All right, let's look at the wheat, and in Chicago wheat right now, we go to that September contract, and let's go ahead and bring those futures up. We are 3 3/4 higher at 543 3/4 right now, well off our earlier low this morning. Very interesting the way it snapped back right after a lower open. We have the Kansas City wheat on that same September contract. We're now just one tick higher at 478.5, but still 7 cents off that early low this morning. Most of the contracts are a little lower in KC wheat. Of course, harvest is really ramping up with all the heat moving in. And if you look at Minneapolis wheat on the spring wheat trade, we have September now 3.5 higher at 560.5. The spread continues to widen out on the Kansas City market and the others. All right, we'll pause for a break right here, Scott, and we'll come back and see what the latest activity is in our cattle and hog market action on a Wednesday when we return after this. Let's go back to the trading floor and visit with Scott Gecas of Walsh Trading in Chicago right now. And Scott, I wanted to turn our attention to this livestock trade and, of course, keep one eye on this energy market, too. When it comes to the livestock trade, let's look at our live cattle futures here. We had a higher tone this morning, and on the big board, we're now showing the August up $1.80 at 105.05, and October up $1.33 at 106.17. So those are way off of their earlier lows this morning, over $1.50 off of that. Let's look at the feeder cattle trade, and on the feeders, well, very impressive moves here. In fact, they're approaching going limit up here today. We have the August up $4.25 at 135.57. In September, $4 higher. So is October right now. They're all at least $4 higher on the feeders. Well, what are the lean hogs doing then? Well, lean hogs are kind of caught in the crossfire here. They had been fairly sharply lower, but now they're mainly higher. August up 15 cents at 76.33, and October up 38 at 70.28. So some folks say that the livestock trade, Scott, can be tied to what's going on in the greater economy, if you will, in the U.S. Does that have anything to do with it here today? I saw the Dow was up a little bit, but it wasn't running away.
Yeah, well, I mean, with the whole complex, with the protein complex, the seasonal demand is starting to show its face, starting to pick up gradually. I think that was confirmed by that cold storage report on Monday. So with the weather having a little bit of a break here in the Midwest, we expect that demand to continue. More people are going to be outside. So, I mean, it just makes sense that you're going to get a little bit of a push higher. Whether that is going to sustain or not, going out to July, we expect a little bit more rain than usual. So, that might have a pullback in the later on in the next coming weeks. But right now, I mean, everyone's looking for that expected move of be a little bit higher. Obviously, the feeder kettles is dragging the live cattle a little bit higher as well. So we're going to wait and see how this is really going to play out over the next few weeks.
Are there traders behind you there that are suspecting maybe we'll see some sizable meat exports tomorrow in that weekly report?
everyone's hopeful for that we are going to see those exports increase. But again, we got to wait until those numbers come out. I mean, to give an opinion one way or the other is just foolish until those numbers actually come out.
Makes one wonder, China was in there as a big buyer for 3 weeks, and they kind of had that pattern where they would maybe have a big purchase maybe once a month or a couple of weeks and then take a little breather. And they had an off week last week, didn't buy anything, and it does make one wonder if they'll be back again, especially with the G20 meeting coming up here. And we have that quarterly hogs and pigs report coming out tomorrow, right?
Yeah, right. So with the G20, everyone's expecting something to come on. The rhetoric coming out of the trade war talks is on both sides of the fence right now. We had earlier reports this morning that they were about 90% close to a deal. And then just as I was walking on, Trump came out and said, well, more tariffs, plan B, could be billions more in tariffs. So no one really knows what's going on. That soap opera is going to continue until we get something nailed down.
Thanks for the information today, Scott. Good to hear from you. Scott Gecas of Wall Street Trading in Chicago.